What are you still salty about years later? The lady at my university said everything was good to go as far as financial aid and registration and stuff. This was before the university really embraced the internet where you could just check online. Everything was in fact not good to go due to a small thing that could have been fixed in 5 minutes, and I got dropped from all my classes and couldn't attend that semester. When I was 11 I did this school project on Kenya. I had to make a poster. I was docked 10% because of poor presentation. It was in the rubric whatever. My poster did look pretty crappy. I'm not too mad. Someone else did Kenya also and they got a perfect score, but their poster had Ethiopia labeled as Kenya on the map. This was a geography class. I was livid, and honestly I'm still kinda like I'll lose 10 points because my poster's a bit ugly and she gets a perfect score even though her project has bad info on it. Ugh, frick that. That's actually hilarious. Shows how much time was spent grading. When I was 10 I got a Game Boy with Pokemon Yellow for my birthday. About a month or so later I come home from school excited to play Pokemon only to find my Game Boy is missing. We find out that my uncle's wife, now ex, who was living with us at the time, had sold it for some drug money. I was devastated and I grew up kind of poor, so it's not like my parents could afford a new one. Turns out my mom beat her butt for that, but I never knew until a couple of years ago when my dad told me. Regardless, I'm still salty about that. Kind of nice to know she got her butt kicked by your mom though, so it's not like she got off scot-free. When I was 12, I wanted a TV in my room, and my parents told me if I wanted one I'd have to pay for it myself. So I sold sodas by the pool all summer until I had enough to buy my own TV. I had a real sense of pride and accomplishment for about a day, until my little brother complained that it wasn't fair that I got a TV and he didn't. So my parents bought him the same model I had. How hard is it to just say your brother gets one because he paid for it? You can have one when you have money, too. In middle school we had to do the presidential fitness test. I was crushing the pull-ups, and came to find out that despite being like 4 minutes and 11 seconds and 110 pounds, I had done the most pull-ups in the entire school so far. Then this one BML, for security purposes, gets on the bar and starts doing pull-ups. She gets about 80% of the pull-ups I did and then starts kicking her legs against the wall to essentially walk herself up to a pull-up. No one called her out on it, and she had the most pull-ups in the school that year. I will never ever forget that crap. Okay, semi-related, and I am still so salty about it. I did the most sit-ups in my class by a ton. I doubled the next highest amount. There were 2 people counting for each person. Myself and the girl holding my feet to make sure I wasn't cheating. We agreed on the number and this bee had the audacity to tell everyone I was lying. Frick you, Samantha. In 1st grade I was riding my scooter on the sidewalk like a boss, doing jumps over cracks like an animal. All of a sudden, a girl that was in my class opened the front door to her house and waved hi. I waved hi back and thought that was nice of her. The next day in class, she comes up to me and says, "I only said hi because my mom made me." Kelly, you be. I still haven't forgotten that. Dude, this happened when I was 5 and I'm still pee off. In kindergarten. And now, I was kind of a space cadet. I was always in my own world doing whatever. One particular day while pretending to be an astronaut, I bumped into this kid Todd. Todd got angry at me for bumping into him and bit my hand. Having not learned that snitches get stitches, I told the yard duty lady. However, I was the only white kid in kindergarten and my Chinese wasn't good yet. When the woman brought Todd over, he was able to talk circles around me and convinced the woman I bit my own hand to frame him. She put us both on timeout together. And guess what freaking Todd did? He bit his own hand, screamed, and yelled for the yard duty. He then lied and told her I had bit him. He got off scot-free while I had to stay in the classroom during recess and lunch for the next 2 weeks. Frick Todd. Todd got angry at me for bumping into him and bit my hand. Having not learned that snitches get stitches, I told the yard duty lady, frick snitches get stitches in this situation. If somebody bites me, I'm going to tell on him. In 2005, I was starting 7th grade. On the first day of class, all of the teachers handed out surveys to get to know you. They wanted to know what your interests were, mostly. One teacher asked what kinds of books everyone liked. I wrote dystopian sci-fi. I was actually marked off points because dystopian was not a word. Not only was I marked off points on a getting to know you activity on the first day of class, but dystopian science fiction is basically the most popular genre of your novels. It's 13 years later. I have a college degree, a full-time salaried job, and still a ton of salt about that one. I can't remember the teacher's name at all, but by freaking god I will never let that one go. I'm still mad because we had the Bulls AR reading program in our school. It was 3rd grade and I tested at a 7th grade reading level. My teacher wouldn't let me check out a book because it was 8th grade. Kudos to my parents, though. They pointed out how full of crap that practice was, and bought me the book anyway. This one time as a kid when my father and his second wife and myself were in the car together, driving home, and they stopped at Taco Bell on the way there and bought 2 apple pies, empanadas, just for themselves and didn't buy me one. Didn't ask me if I wanted one. Didn't tell me no or why, kiss my grits, or anything. Didn't even turn their heads to look in the backseat, just had a little chat there in the front. Pulled into the drive-thru, bought 2 dang apple pies just for them, and went on home like I wasn't even there. 1 black coffee. Years ago my friends and I split the cost of a VIP room at a club, and then one of my friends invites his sister and her 7 friends last minute because it was her birthday. None of them chipped in, crowded the frick out of the room, and they used up all the drinks that come with purchasing the room. Still salty about it today. My friend's sister is known for ordering drinks and leaving the nearest guy in the group with the bill. I don't go out with them when she's in town anymore. I pulled into a parking lot and saw 1 space available. I turned into the spot and there was a guy who had apparently just got into his truck to leave, directly opposite where I just pulled into. Basically he wanted to use the empty spot to pull through and out of the parking lot, and because I parked there he had to back up and pull out instead. He laid on his horn and flipped me off as I was getting out of my car. I just walked away, but it still annoys me to think about. I hold a grudge, so I'm salty about a lot of stuff. One incident in particular. My partner and I wanted a baby. We loved my best friend and her child. She offered to surrogate for us. We were so excited. My partner left me to be with her. Jesus. That's a grudge I'd hold for a lifetime and then some. When I was 12 we were playing some sort of bingo game in my German class. I realized I had written it in the front of my workbook and not the back like I was meant to, so stupid naive me started copying out the game in the back of the book, exactly as I had it in the front. Teacher saw and started yelling at me for cheating in front of the whole class, and just yelled more when I tried to defend myself. I was the type who never got in trouble, so getting accused of cheating when I hadn't done anything was rough for 12-year-old me. Teacher was a C. The list is long, but distinguished. One of the more petty ones. In grad school our cohort, 40 of us, took a trip abroad to study international development. We went to a Caribbean island and traveled around the countryside, visiting small towns, compounds, etc. We stayed in a certain small town for a couple days, and part of the task was to partner up with someone, develop a business idea for the community and a sales pitch for it to present to business leaders. We spent time in the community talking to the people who live there about what they want, what they need, etc. Consistently, the answer was fresh fruits and vegetables. My partner and I pitched a community farm idea where crops could be grown and your shares would be based on the work you put in. Poor area. It wasn't a popular idea within the circle of business students, and we didn't even get a chance to pitch to community leaders. The idea that got pitched to leaders? A mobile medical clinic. During the pitch, one of the locals stood up and said, "Why would we need this? We have universal healthcare provided to us. We see the doctor whenever we want." Needless to say, I was nice to see the butthead who was pitching the idea stutter and stumble trying to talk around the complete absurdity of his idea. When I was 12 my brother sold our SNES, our NES games, and all of our SNES games to his friend in high school for $100. This was around 2000, so he figured we didn't want or need them. The thing is, he didn't ask or consult me, even though a large portion of those games were mine. He just handed me $20 saying it was my share. I'd like to rebuild the collection, but we had some fairly rare ones, and replacing an original Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, or Secret of Mana cartridge isn't cheap. 5th grade track and field day. I won the high jump. Sometime later our gym teacher is announcing the winners and says someone else in my class won. No, the frick he didn't. I say something and he said he'll look into it. Eventually he just says there's nothing he can do. They had an award ceremony and my friend was awarded the medal. He gave it to me after, but still, the real issue is, now in our 30s, my friend seems to have developed selective memory. He claims he has no memory of the incident. I told him everything that happened and he denies it. He now brags about winning the 5th grade high jump. He's a freaking liar. Look on the bright side. He is 30 and bringing up something he did when he was 10. My then girlfriend and I threw a party around an event in the spring and I worked really hard on getting a nice snack spread prepared and set out for everyone that took all the guests' dietary restrictions and preferences into account. And I had a roll of paper towels out for people to use if they needed to wipe anything up or for whatever. So one of the guests notices the paper towels and asks if we have any napkins, and since I was pretty sure we did, I said yeah, I think there might be some, and she cuts me off and goes, oh, you just don't bring those out for your guests? I realized she was just having a hard day or something and I shouldn't still be upset about it. But I put a really high priority on being a good host, so I still sometimes feel bad about this, frustrated with her impoliteness even now. For what it's worth, I prefer to use a paper towel over a napkin, lol. That one girl who borrowed my fav Nintendo 64 game and moved away from the city the next day, never saw the game again. My elementary school teacher who went mental, told the whole class, told the teachers of neighbor classes and their students, called my parents, got the guidance counselor involved, principal, and my siblings, because I said I hate you in response when a girl said I'm telling the teacher because I decided to read a comic book after the teacher left the room. She went to the teacher and told her both that I was reading a comic and that I said I hate you. Ever since that day I was forced to go to the guidance every Monday till 5th grade. End of the month a parent discussion was supposed to take place. All because I said I hate you to a female classmate, and to be honest, I didn't hate her. I found her cute and had a crush on her, but I sure a frick hated her and the teacher after that. I was 9. My sister was 2. I used to have 2 Power Ranger action figures, one blue and one red. I'd play with them all the time, in the bath, in the car, in my bedroom, anywhere I could. I'd play with them, making cool scenarios where they were enemies fighting each other, or friends saving the world. The blue Power Ranger had more stiff joints, so was a bit more effort to move the arms and legs for fighting. So if I went on a car journey I'd always bring the red one. He was my favorite action figure. Now, my sister was a spoiled, 2-year-old brat. When she was younger we never got along, although I tried to be nice to her. She just seemed to hate me. I was on my Game Boy Advanced one-car journey, and had my Power Ranger next to me, in between me and my sister. Although my sister had some soft toys, she tried to grab my Power Ranger. I snatched it off her, and she started crying. Instantly my mom tells me to give it to her. I argued but she made me. Less than 2 minutes later, she's holding it out the car window as we're driving. And just like that, my Power Ranger is gone. Forever. I'm absolutely fuming at this, but my parents do nothing, telling me I still have my blue one at home, and my sister just laughs. Even to this day, whenever I'm with my sister, or my parents near the same place, I remind them the exact spot my brat of a sister dropped my favorite Power Ranger. B. Kindergarten. This little B Robin told the counselor that while we were in the bathroom I put my fist, seriously WTF, in her mouth, laid her down on the floor and kissed her on the cheek. I still vividly remember sitting in the bathtub and my mom, standing there, in her electric blue shag robe, crying. I didn't do it. She never gave me any indication that she believed me. Frick that girl Robin. If it makes you feel any better, something fricked up like that had probably happened to her, just not with you. When I was younger I collected Pokemon cards when they were just starting to become popular. I had every original Pokemon card and most in holographic form, too. I seriously had a binder of these cards that were in great condition. We moved from an apartment to a new house and my mom sold the cards at a garage sale without me knowing, thinking that I had grown out of it because I put the binder on a bookshelf. I think she said she sold the binder for like $10. I cringe every time I think about it. I brought all of the Pokemon cards I owned to my daycare one day because I wanted to show the other kids. I didn't make it home with a single card. While we were all playing outside, one of the kids snuck back in and took them all. That still makes me super sad to think about, and it was almost 20 years ago. When I was a kid my sister took piano lessons and I was asked if I'd rather take piano or dance. I chose dance. Well, one day we dropped my sister off at her piano lesson and while waiting in the car my grandma just says OBTW you'll be taking piano instead of dance because it's just easier than going to different places. Also you start next week. I cried my eyes out right there in the car and she didn't even attempt to comfort me. From what I understand it was my aunt's idea because it would be too hard on my grandma to drive us to 2 different lessons. Cut to now and my aunt's granddaughter is taking dance lessons. She keeps talking about how important it is for kids to be able to take part in activities they actually enjoy and how much better they thrive when they aren't forced to do things they hate. Okay B. I kick myself every day for not taking dance lessons later on. I still wish I could dance. They both played favorites with all their kids and grandkids. Frick that. I'll never forgive them for that one. One of my bosses firing my favorite co-workers over politely telling someone to do their job correctly. She had to constantly remind a new cake decorator, who looked like a textbook neckbird, to wear gloves and wash his hands when preparing cakes. This is a basic health and safety procedure in our store. She worded it very kindly and professionally too. Our manager then blamed her saying that she was harassing him and started belittling her in front of an entire store full of customers. She eventually said frick this and walked out. I was about 4 or 5 and in kindergarten. It's one of my earliest memories. There was a bitchy obnoxious half-Russian girl called Marietta who was a lying shithead. She had been running around yelling crap about My Little Pony, the old Paradise Estate cartoon, while I was trying to play with blocks when I eventually got fed up and told her to shut up and that ponies are stupid. She lied to the teacher that I had been chasing her and smearing my boogers on her dress. Frick you. I just wanted to play with the blocks in peace. I had just started driving at 16 years old, and I was driving my mom's car. It had a manual transmission and had roughly 120,000 miles on it. One day when I was driving, the clutch went out. I called her, and she blamed me, the kid who had put less than 1,000 miles on it, for the clutch going out. It was going to go out soon anyway. I just happened to be driving at the time. Had to pay for a good chunk of the new clutch and I'm still a little salty because of it. I broke my dad's new driver, golf club, the same way. He asked if I wanted to try it out, and when I swung the club, the head came flying off. I did nothing wrong, it just happened. I still had to pay $50 to fix it, and to make matters worse, he told all his friends I'd offed the shot and that's why it broke. This girl was mad at me for not letting her borrow money, so she kept my makeup kit I had let her borrow. She told me she gave it back but she definitely didn't. She was always using me for things and I didn't really care, but my mom had gotten me the kit as a gift. She's a dirty makeup ass. My sister stealing the melon gum I saved for last and actively denying it for a week. Still gets my blood boiling. Yeah, it might have been 10 years ago. It was only a piece of gum. Right? Had her number. Mother, you stole my prized possession and knew how much I freaking loved melon and how we won't get gum for a long time because our mom was extremely anti-candy. We might be on okay terms now, but seriously, frick you. Several years back my brother's truck broke down and he was short on money. I had 2 vehicles that were both paid off and as a favor to her my mom asked me to sell him my Explorer for cheap to him because he needed a vehicle that was large enough for his family, was reliable, and had a working heater since it was winter. It was worth $2k and I sold it for $500. A month later I found out he sold it for almost $2k and bought a posed car for less than half that to get him through until he got his tax return so he could get another vehicle and pocketed the rest of the money. Family relationships are impossible to satisfy, especially when parents want to play at being the benefactor with their kids' stuff. Parents gave my brother and I scratch-off lottery tickets from time to time in our Christmas stockings. I won $500 when I was in the 5th grade and dad kept it. Looking back, I had no business having that much money that young, but I later learned that dad used it to get hotel rooms when he cheated on my mom after Christmas. Dad gave my college savings to my little brother. I had been putting money into it after my parents spent years saving for it too. It was around $20k or more. I gave my mom my paycheck to deposit because I was in college and only used the local credit union. I told her I was going to go ahead and use some of it for some of my books for the next semester. She says that's a great idea. 2 weeks later she calls and leaves a message, screaming like a tequila-soaked harpy that I've bounced a check. My credit will be ruined. She's so embarrassed because she knows people there. Why am I so irresponsible? I was confused because I should have had more than enough money, so I called her and asked her if she deposited my check and she said no, because I needed money so I had it put in my account. But why did your check bounce? UHH. Because you stole $600 from me? Honorable mention is 2 years later when she couldn't find $50 of her money, so she took it out of my birthday money. That came in the mail. She often opened my mail because I thought it was mine even though we have a different first and last name. Because I have no other choice. One of my teachers spent a whole lesson making us cut out a list of class rules and stick them in the books that would be used by the new freshman year. Being about 13, we had gotten bored and were cutting out these rules with wavy edges, etc. She proceeded to shout at us for not cutting out these pieces of paper properly and made us do them again. Teach. This was clearly some stupid work she had us do because she couldn't be bothered to do it herself. Or teach history. Frick you, Ms. Matthews, wasting our time. Freaking Shelby bitching. But she didn't bring any fries. That sucks when my mom provided our whole team with bags of MCDS burgers sophomore year. Frick Shelby. That crap adds up. Your mother sounds like a nice woman. Went to pick up my GF for 10 days at a couples only resort. She informed me she had cheated and wasn't going. Flew first class by myself and spent 10 days alone at a couples only resort. Wait, that's the plot of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I had a special knitted rainbow blanket that I adored as a toddler. I stuck to that thing like glue and still had it when I was 6. Couldn't sleep without it. My mum said I was too old for it and cut it up. Still man. Cut her out of your life. Job done. One of my earliest memories, I was at a water park with my dad and older sister, and my dad chose to go down the 2-person tube slide with my sister multiple times while I had to sit at the bottom by myself. I might have been 5 years old, but I remember being so I just walked away. I had no clue where I was going, but I just freaking rolled out. They found me a couple hours later wandering around and played it off laughing like I accidentally got lost. What I thought was an elaborate middle finger to my dad for picking favorites basically just solidified his choice because I must have been too stupid to sit and wait for them. I still remember you picked favorites, you dong. In 8th grade, a teacher claimed that I didn't turn in an assignment that I did. She played stupid while smirking at me. Literally, I had been helping students finish understand the assignment in class a few days earlier. Her job. She gave me 0 credit and no chance to redo the assignment, which cost me having straight A's for the first time. Those people don't deserve to be teachers. There needs to be a psychology test or something to become a teacher. When I was in 3rd or 4th grade, we had to do an oral report on another country. We didn't get to choose and I was given Bolivia. Keep in mind that this was pre-internet, so I had to go to the library and search the encyclopedia. So I look up all the standard stuff, like that their main economic drivers are coca and mining. The miners chew on coca leaves to alleviate hunger pangs. They are the only landlocked country in South America, etc. Then I learned that Bolivia is unique. It is the only country in the world that has 2 capitals. Sucre is the capital by the people and constitution. La Paz is the seat of government and banking left over from colonial times. A lot of the subtleties were lost on me as a small child. As I get to this part of the oral report, standing in front of the whole class, the teacher cuts me off mid-sentence. Countries can't have two capitals. Well, Bolivia does, La Paz and Sucre. Well, countries can't have two capitals. So just pick one. La Paz, I guess. 1. We didn't have the internet, look it up, or even have a classroom encyclopedia to check. 2. Questions, or statements in this case, should be kept until after the presentation. Finally, it's a complicated subject with lots of history behind it. It's not easy to answer even today as an adult that has access to all the information in the world at my fingertips. You can just pick one. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.